Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Vakratunda Mahakaya, Surya Koti Samaprabha, Nirvighna Kuru Me Deva, Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada, Saraswati Namastubhyam, Varade Kamarupini, Vidyarambham Karishyami, Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada, वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् So let us continue. So one thing, somebody gave me a message saying that why don't we move on also with the next chapter, with chapter 9 or wherever we are stuck. There was one king who started from Macedonia, and he came all the way up to Indus. Anybody remembers his name? Right? We all do. Right? And we also put one epithet behind his name called the Great. I typically normally say the Great Fool, because poor chap, he was also very young, he just ran all the way from Macedonia, all the way up to the Indus, thinking that he has conquered these people. What was happening is, as soon as he had passed by, people just went back to their original behavior, right? Forgetting anything about one war or one small skirmish or one battle with the Alexander so-called Great. I just don't want to do that, right? It is better that we learn one chapter and learn it properly rather than run through the Gita, right? And Gurudev's words are always ringing in my ears. You allow Gita to run through you, don't run through the Gita. And Acharya also says, Deyam Gita, so they kinchita Gita, right? Kinchita, not fully. He says only little bit. And we have seen right now, right? Each verse is a source for Manan. Each verse is a source for Nididhyasan. Each verse is a source for us to change our behavior to a point where we can be a little bit more at peace with ourselves, a little bit at more peace with the world around us, a little bit at more useful to the world around us. Right? Otherwise, we are the same as an earthworm. Eat, drink, go, and then become earth again. Eat mud, shit mud, become mud. That's the life of an earthworm. Nothing different from us. If you're eating wheat, you think you are eating wheat. You are actually eating mud in a transformed form. It just transformed itself into something different, and so it appears to be something different. So instead of being an earthworm, can we be something better, something more, something a little bit more than what other animals are? I'll start with a small story of what we all know. What? Yes, please.
I have to take umbrage on that, because the earthworm serves
is more
extremely valuable.
More useful than us.
Yes, very often. Actually, if all the earthworms left, we would be starving in no time. And the beauty is the earthworm just goes ahead and does his work, without.
True. So we all know about Swamiji making a statement of brothers and sisters of America and people going mad in terms of their excitement of being addressed in that manner. A few decades later, Srila Prabhupada went to the West and he also addressed people. And I don't know how many of you know, but his first words were, you people are nothing better than dogs and hogs. And if you look at his explanation, despite the tomatoes and rotten eggs that were thrown at him, you look at his explanation and says that dogs and hogs, what are they worried about? They are worried about eating. They are worried about living safely. They are worried about procreation. And other than that, they are not worried about anything. Are you at least thinking of anything different? If not, then how are you better? So the whole purpose of the Gita is to change us internally. And hence, this entire series of revisions that we need to do. So let us carry on. Let us start. So we stopped last time at a point where we were looking at chapter 3, verse 17. So if you look at chapter 3, verse 17, what does it say? It says that yes, atma ratireva syad atma triptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. He is fully satisfied. There is no more karyam. Now, what is this? What does it mean? Any thoughts? Any ideas?
He has
Pramila
given
ji.
up. He has given up complete. He's announced doership while performing action. So he's completely involved in his own atma, and he's also. I mean, doesn't need to. He doesn't have to go beyond that. So even if he's doing anything, he doesn't feel he's doing it. He's performing it as a samarpan to the God, whatever action he does also.
Okay. But then why should he do any work at all?
So,
If he's so satisfied, why should he do any work at all? I mean, let's say that you have eaten food, right? How many rotis can you eat, Pramila ji?
You can, at a time, two.
2. So now I'm going to ask you to eat 2 more. What will you say?
No, it won't be. I mean, you can't. Of course, you can keep stuffing and you'll throw up ultimately.
After that, you can't eat. You'll
No.
stop.
Yeah.
So when you are satisfied, you will stop. Incidentally, in our Shabarimala tradition, it is believed that the Annadanam is the best danam. You know why? Because for once at that point of time, that person will say, bus. If you give him a house, he will say, घर थोड़ा छोटा और थोड़ा बड़ा दे सकता था. You give him a shirt, he will say, this material, it could have been silk, isn't it? Or he could have given me 2 shirts. But food, he will have to perforce say bus. So Annadanam Srishtadanam is what is said. However, Santushti by definition means that you will not do any more work. Right? Because why do we work? Why do we work?
We all have to do our duties and perform action when we have come into this world. We all have to.
I agree. Why?
I mean, that's a part of life. I mean, you know.
So, I would answer that in a different way. I say, why not work? Why would he want not to work? If it is due to sloth, if it is due to sloth, if it is due to laziness,
the answer
then that will become selfish. So, in fact, the moment he does that, for that reason, he is no longer in yoga.
So the answer, George Bernard Shaw once said, the answer to why is always why not. So, so I'd like you to stop being George Bernard Shaw for some time and at least answer the question why first.
So the question of why he should work then comes to what is the role that he is doing, and Krishna says actually it is
before that. Forget the yogi. Why do we work? Why does Raghu work? Why does Veena work? Why does Parthada work?
Because we want some outcome. We want some outcome. We work towards a goal.
So there is a desire.
Yeah.
There is a desire. Whatever be it, that duty that you are doing also is aimed at fulfilling some desire. Right? मुझे बेटे को बड़ा करना है. Right? बेटे को अच्छा बनाना है. See, all of that is in the future. And there's a desire. You're doing it as a duty. Right? I'm not saying no to that. But we do work because of duty. Or else we do work automatically because of the bodily system. We blink. There is no need. I mean, there is a bodily need, but there is no desire that is coming there. There is no innate conscious desire. There is a physical desire that is automated. Our autonomous body system also functions and does work. So we breathe, right? You cannot stop breathing, at least not consciously. You cannot stop hearing. You cannot stop the feeling. Something comes and touches you, you will feel it, right? You will blink. If you eat, you will go to the toilet. If you have drunk water, you will go to the toilet. These are our autonomous body system that is working. There is no innate desire attached to this, right? Where does Krishna say that? Say something about this? Anybody remembers?
So he says that in I don't know which verse it is. He says that even when you are even to continue to live, you have to do action.
Okay, where does he say that?
In
He
5,
said action in inaction and inaction in action.
No.
That he said.
Revision.
in 5:10, he says those who dedicate actions to God untouched. I mean, they are sort of.
We are in 1 to 4 only.
Okay, we cannot go to the
It's
next.
in chapter 3, he says that.
Verse 19. Verse 19 of chapter 3.
What does he say?
He says we have to continually perform our action. One should constantly perform action without attachment.
No.
Where does he say that there is no one in this world who cannot stop working?
He has said.
Where does he say that? Okay, that is your homework now. चलिए. Veena ji, you are also part of this.
She's driving, I think so.
In 3.5?
No. Sorry?
No. In 3.5, he says no one can stay without action. All acts based on qualities of their material nature perform.
Correct. Absolutely. Nahi kashchit kshanamapi jatu tishtyat karmakrit.
That is 3.5, is it?
3.5.
Correct.
Yes, 3.5. Yeah.
Not even for a moment. Kashchit kshanamapi jatu. Anybody who is born, who is ever jatu tishtyat karmakrit. Tishtati can remain akarmakrit. Tishtyat akarmakrit. Akarmakrit, without doing anything. Now, this is what I would like you to think about. So, there is no conscious volition to do work. So, if I am doing service, I am not doing it any consciously with any identification. I am doing it just exactly as I swashan, swapan. Right? Where does swashan, swapan come? We have seen that, right?
Yeah.
So how does a yogi behave? Oh, he behaves exactly like you and I externally. And the same way he goes there and he's doing that work. But what has happened internally? Internally, there's no more desire attached to it. So he is just doing this as a part of a bodily function. The way you blink is the way he goes and does service.
In 3.8, he says even the bare maintenance of the body would not be possible if you remain inactive.
Correct.
So, in fact, when the yogi takes rest, he's actually doing work. He's doing work of regeneration. Like Stephen Covey in his book says, you need to balance the P by PC. That is productivity with productive capability. So, if you just work on productivity, eventually productive capability will go and you will not be able to function anymore. So you have to also take rest so that the body regenerates and is able to do the next work.
So cross-referencing from other shlokas, 3.5 and 3.8, we clearly see that there is an indication over there automatically of 3.17, where he's saying that irrespective of the fact that he has become a yogi, he will continue to do work because he is in the physical body, right? Which is why some yogis, have I ever told you of the Bodhisattva vow? The Bodhisattva Pratigya, it is called. In Pali, it is called Bodhisattva Patigya. Patigga. It is called Patigga, right? Which is basically the Sanskrit word translated into Pali. So Bodhisattva Pratigya is a Pratigya which says that the person, he reaches that threshold of realization, of Buddhahood, not realization. In the Buddhist theory, it is called Buddhahood. So he reaches that threshold of Buddhahood and then he stops. And he says, I will remain here till everybody in this world has gone. The whole principle of Dalai Lama comes from that. So Dalai Lama is a bodhisattva who keeps coming back again and again and again just to make sure that people are passing through that gateway. They just keep passing through. And his job is to make people pass through that gateway. He has
Captain
already
of the
passed.
ship.
So he's not only the captain, he's also the navigator. He's also so he's the person who navigates and leads. And therefore, when he says, okay, you do this, you do this, you do that, and therefore you pass through, and till everybody has passed through, he does not go. That is the Bodhisattva Patigya. Now, some of the realized masters, they hold on to that particular thing and therefore remain. Sometimes even physically. Thakur used to say this, when he was in Samadhi, and then he would realize that the connection between the body and the Atman is becoming so weak that the body will drop. He used to call for his hookah. And he used to say, hey, tamak de to, tamak de. Tamak is tobacco. Tamak used to be given to him and Gorgora. He used to be called Gorgora. The hookah is called Gorgora. It's a very eponymous sound, right? It makes that Gorgora sound. So it's called the Gorgora in Bengali. So tamak de, Gorgora de, and he would smoke 2 puffs and he would then come back to normalcy. These were hooks that they intentionally used to keep themselves on this plane of existence. And this brings you to another concept of saying that why do we go to a particular samadhi and pray if that Atman is no longer there? No, the Atman sometimes has taken this vow of remaining in the Sukshma form to help people to pass through. And that is why you will have these samadhis built over these siddhars and in the South India and samadhis of saints, where you go and you pray and you find that there is a whole lot of energy there. Sometimes you feel that energy. Shirdi's Baba, he very categorically said that in this samadhi I shall remain permanently. Right? What does it mean? Does it mean that his Atman will be? Yes, he says that in the energy form, he will continue to hold back. He will not merge into that identity. So he will hold on to that Shuddhavasana, it is called. Shuddhavasana. And that Shuddhavasana of saying, I am here only for one purpose, and that is to help people. Right? What happens is we go there with a transaction. And we go there and say, अरे मेरा बेटे का परीक्षा पास करवा दीजिए. अरे बेटे को पढ़ने को बोलो ना पहले. परीक्षा कैसे पास करेगा? Baba is not going to come and write. So, although, I mean, if you read Yogananda Paramahamsa, you will see that there are a lot of stories about him passing examinations with the question paper having come to him one day before, and stories like that. So, but essentially, the yogi does no more work because, and very rightly said to Pramilaji, that he loses the sense of doership. Do you think about blinking? Do you think about swallowing the saliva that you are swallowing? You are doing it all the time. Right? Do you think about digesting? Do you think, oh, I am digesting food. Here is the carbohydrate going in. This will build up my energy. Now I need to eat some paneer because it will give me protein and it will build my muscles. Do you do that? Most of us don't, right? So that conscious, unconscious process, the process of working has become unconscious. So while he is satisfied, he still continues to work, 3538. He loses the kartritva bhava. So he is no longer a karta. And hence, therefore, there is no karma phala. That is the essence of 317. So should we move to the next question? Hope. Hope and regret. Any thoughts?
So it's said that hope is the last thing that leaves a person.
Yes. So we have
It's
Pandora's box.
basically a motivator.
Mhm.
In all our actions, we want a particular outcome. We hope that by doing this action, we will get that outcome. And that motivates us to do the action towards that goal. Likewise, when we do the action and the outcome doesn't come, there is regret.
Mhm.
Sometimes we want something, but our desires make us do something else. As a result, we don't get what we wanted. And then we'll have regret that we did something, we gave into temptation and did something. So there's regret. Both of these
Okay.
are self-defeating in its own way,
Mhm.
because both of these are kind of taking us away from the mental or intellectual being who does something because there is a purpose.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other thought?
Yeah, hope is also related to desire.
Okay.
Unless I have a desire out of an action, I will not have any hope. So
Mhm.
hope is that way counterproductive. I am also seeing in chapter 3, verse 30, Lord Krishna is asking Arjuna.
Mhm.
He says that you rest all your thoughts on your own self, devoid of any hope or selfishness. So he is relating hope with selfishness.
Okay.
And definitely, as Raghuji also said, if you lose hope,
See, you
you have
refer to 30, right?
yeah, 30.
Nirashi nirmamo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So nirashi. So very nice. Good. Any other thought? Hope is equal to desire, or hope comes from desire. Any other cross reference that you would like to think about? Most favorite, famous verse. And most misquoted verse. You're muted.
Karmaneva adhikaraste ma phaleshu
Correct.
kadachana.
Correct. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Right? All the time, what are we doing? And every time I go into my corporate classes and I've come up with this, I invariably come back with this. I said, look at what are you measuring? You're measuring output. And all the time only you're fixated on the output. Ma karma phala hetuhu, he says very clearly. Continuously thinking only about the fruit. All the time. Kitna hua, kitna hua, kitna hua, kitna hua. Are? Instead of that, why don't you ask kya kiya, kya kiya, kya kiya? You might get the kitna hua. Right? From a sales perspective, I keep selling. How many people did you meet? No, instead of that, the manager is asking, how much did you do? Now you change the focus to the action and concentrate only on the action 100%. Ignore the outcome. Make sure that the action is 100% right. Yoga karma su kaushala. chapter 2, verse 50. Then the whole idea of being concentrated on asha becomes void. Asha pasha. Asha is called a pasha. Pasha means noose. Something that ties you, noose. Asha pasha. Now, if have you found the word regret in the Gita? Anybody has found the word regret? Any ideas, any thoughts? Regret.
So there is it's not it's further down in the 7th chapter, verse 13, where Krishna says, deluded by the gunas, people do not recognize me. People do not,
No, we're still on 1 to 4. We're still on
I know,
4.
but that he kind of gives a little bit of a sense of regret there, that people are not recognizing him as the imperishable because they're deluded by the gunas.
We have seen regret to an extent in chapter 1 itself, when even before doing the karma, like fighting the battle, he started regretting about the loss of kith and kin, etc. Arjuna. So that there we saw, of course, regret, which Krishna, told him not to think about the results, and you do your action.
See, okay. How are hope and regret related? Let's study that first. If you look at Nirashi again, if you look at the word Nirashi, chapter 4, verse 21, Nirashi Yata Chittatma. Again, he says Nirashi. Free from expectations, not free from hope. Right? But hope and expectations are so very nicely linked together. Now, how is regret linked to hope?
Regret is linked to desires. When you don't get your desire, then you have regret.
And hope is also linked to?
Hope also is linked to desires. There's an outcome that I hope I will get. I mean, I desire it, so I want it. So, and the hope is, if I do all these actions, I will get that.
So why do we do any actions? Because of a desire. What is the desire? The desire is to be happy.
Yeah.
Right? And we always are saying, if I get that, I will be happy. Right? If I get that, I will be happy. So Gurudev in one of his speeches said, so this person, he says, if I get that girl, I will be happy. If I get that girl, I will be happy. If I get that girl, I will be happy. So then he goes and marries that girl because he wants happiness. And then after 5 years, he says, if I can get rid of her, I will be happy. If I can get rid of her, I will be happy. If after I can get rid of her, and then he gets rid of her and he says, oh, I am happy. And he gets rid of her and the neighbor takes her. Because the neighbor is saying, oh, if I get that girl, I will be very happy. Right? We were in splits when he was doing this, and he does this with all the actions and the voice modulation, and it's so humorous. But then you just think about what he's saying. Every action that we are doing is because I want it, and then once I want it, I don't want it. Right? Therefore, another particular shloka we have seen, which is not in 1 to 4, but then we have seen that it will come later, is that the origin of every dukkha is where?
Sukha.
In every sukha.
Yeah.
Every sukha. So therefore, this also will pass. This also will pass. This also will pass. So the eternal changeability of this particular material world is also indicated in this trap of hope and regret, hope and regret, hope and regret. And therefore, he says in verse 4, chapter 4, verse 21, he says, Nirashi yata chittatma. continuously trying to give in that balance. Yata chittatma, he says. Yeah? Therefore, controlled, yata chittatma. Controlled. Chittatma, mind and intellect, both controlled. Tyakta sarva parigraha. Giving up the sense of ownership. Shariram kevalam karma kurvan. Shariram kevalam karma kurman. This is back to that the earlier chapter, that 317 that we were seeing. The body now is just doing actions. Whatever actions. Na apnoti kilbisham. Then you are no longer stuck into sin. Sin here is holding us back to body, mind, intellect. So, again, going back to the way we study this, we have to understand that each of these shlokas, we need to be able to continuously, when you are studying this again and again and again, you will get to this point where you will be able to think, he said this word earlier, he said this thing earlier. Let me go back and look at it again once more. And when you go back and look at it, that itself is a beautiful manan. And that is what I want you to do. Right? Chapter 3, verse 38.
So before we go there, I wanted to just point out one of the things I've been realizing going through this Bhagavad Gita, and also in all of your other classes, and is that there are many words that we use in English where the meaning of the word is not what we have been made to understand. You have told us right from the karmaneva adhikara seva adhikaram, how it is being. Like that, there are so many. Even the word guna, I feel somehow the way we understand guna or characteristic is not the way it is actually presented in some of the, like in verse 338 or 28, when he talks about the gunas. And very often I find that the moment I realize the other meaning of the same word, then it's like a bit of an epiphany, how to understand what is being said. Sorry, you're muted.
So, yes, you are right. Which is why when you look at the word yagya, I normally do not translate that at all. I use the word yagya. Right? When you use the word deva, deva is not angel or God. Deva has a specific meaning. We understand that so therefore I normally typically use the word deva or yagya and so on and so forth as the words themselves. Similarly, the word guna has always been calculated. Oh, this guy, wo kya hai? Shadi mein 16 gun mil gaye, 36 gun mil gaye. Those are qualities. I understand that guna is quality. Right? When they do the horoscope matching, they look at all those some gunas matching. Right? All those qualities being that as qualities. When we look at the three guna, here we are not talking of three guna, we are talking of possibly the essential composition of Prakriti itself. And when we look at the essential composition of Prakriti, we cannot define it as quality. However, that essential nature of Prakriti manifests in various ways in behavior, right? Or traits, or my attitude. How do you know what attitude do I have? Unless you see it in my behavior. My behavior determines the attitude. So I may be the best sitar player, but until I pick up the sitar and play for you, you have no idea as to that I can play the sitar. So to that extent, how that particular essential nature manifests is what we call the guna. Understanding the gunas, we will go to, when we do the last 6 chapters, we will go much, much deeper, and Krishna understands that we do not understand gunas so easily, and therefore he goes into a far deeper exposition of the gunas themselves in the later chapters. So good point you raised, but now let us go back to this particular verse and see what it means. You remember the verse? Dhumena vriyate?
Which one? Are you talking of 38?
Yes, 38.
Yeah.
Dhumena vriyate.
So here Krishna is basically saying that the Atman is covered, and we have also seen in the course of the sessions that Atman is covered by various layers.
Hmm.
And so these has a connotation with the various types of gunas. How do we remove these layers one by one? Now, if we uplift ourselves from tamaguna to rajaguna to shattaguna, so if we do that, the more we do, the thinner becomes the veil or the cover. So the last one, that is absolutely easy. So once we have transcended to the level of tamoguna, then just that last stroke, you can actually uncover the Atman and merge into that. I think that is what he tried to mean. So our objective will be to raise ourselves from being tamasic to rajasic to Shataguna. So I think that's what I understood from this.
Sattvic
Yes,
sattvic desires, which could be even quest for spirituality or doing any good work, they are easier to move out, remove as
Oh,
compared to like a
people
breeze.
moving out from quest for spirituality is very easy to move.
No, I mean, that desire is there, that strong desire.
Sorry, I was just pulling your leg.
It's very difficult, no? It's like one doesn't have to have even that urge. I mean, it's amazing that you come to such a level to not even have that urge for that. And that's the ultimate. It's easier to remove. Whereas the Rajasic desire is you have to make a little effort, to remove that, like removing the dust on the mirror. Whereas the Tamasic desire needs a lot of effort, like you have to remove the fetus from the womb.
Okay.
And
Yes,
a lot
Raghu.
of efforts have to be put in.
So thank you, Parthoda. That insight you gave, it's a different perspective. I like that a lot. Thank you for that. So basically, the three examples he is giving here is to show, like Parthoda said, how if you are in a different stage of your spiritual evolution, you may the our effort to progress is going to be different. It's going to be different in terms of the amount of effort needed and also amount of time. So, for instance, if you are in the tamasic stage, then first you have to even get the want, the nitya anitya vastu viveka has to come first before you can even start progressing with the other qualities. So you like when the embryo is in the womb, you have to wait. We have to wait the 9 months for the embryo to be born. You can't say, I want to take out the thing. You take it out, the embryo will die. So you have to wait. You have to get those specific qualities. At the same time, when you are in the Rajasic stage, well, you have already got certain things. Now it's like effort is needed, but maybe the results can be achieved quickly, like cleaning the mirror of the dust that is coating it. You cannot just blow it away. You have to wipe it. So there's an extra effort required. And when you get to the sattvic stage, where the flame is flickering, it's right there. The smoke may engulf it, but the smoke won't stay. Also, it keep moving, so you can see that the flame is there. So okay, now I know that what I'm seeing. If the dust was on the mirror, I don't even know it's a mirror. I don't even know that I'm supposed to clean it. Okay, it might be looking like a like a wall. Okay, but now when the flame is engulfed with smoke, because the smoke keeps moving forward and backward, you know that the flame is there. So now you know at least what you should be working on. Okay, and it's easier, and a small waft of a breeze, and you have blown away the smoke, and the flame burns brightly. So this is what this is just example of what it is in terms of spiritual evolution.
So Very nice. All three of you have been correct. The one point that you have to understand is that tamasic, the first thing that is not the what you just mentioned, Raghuji, is not the nitya viveka, but even before that, the jigyasa, the question: who am I? Where do I come from? What will happen after I die? Why are two people born in the same situation getting into different circumstances and seemingly not in their control? Why is there such a difference in their qualities? Why is there such a difference in their way they behave and interact with the world? So this questioning that starts happening is the starting point. But till that questioning arises, it's like the embryo in the womb. So you take birth after birth after birth until one point of time something happens. Sometimes maybe external, sometimes maybe internal, and something happens, and that question arises, right? Which is why in a lot of sadhana, especially in the tantric methods of sadhana, there is something called the smashana sadhana, and there is also called something called even more intense, is called something called shava sadhana, right? So smashana sadhana, shava sadhana, these are sadhanas done inside a smashan or sitting on a dead body. And the reason is not because there is some spiritual power to be gained. It is about understanding that what is happening over there in that funeral pyre is what will happen to this, maybe even tomorrow, maybe in the next moment. And I am not that, because that what is being burnt over there and this that I identify with is the same. Even more intense when you actually sit on the shava, or you take the shava on your lap and you're close to it. And you say, well, I used to call this XYZ. I used to call this Samir, and now this is nothing but inert Panchabhuta. And it is just occupying space. So that intensity, right, is what the Tantra tries to do. But we don't need to go there. Until that question arises naturally in our mind, that the be-all and end-all can't be from birth to death. There has to be something that is moving, something that is carrying forward a list of asanas. And this is where I have this disagreement with the Shunyavadis, right? And I'm not going to where Shankaracharya went and so on and so forth, but I'm just saying that the Shunyavadis, and I had this very interesting debate with a particular Lama who was the head of a particular monastery in Ladakh. We had gone for a trek, and he was very kind to put us up over there in his room. And we spent the entire, I think, half the night in a nice spiritual debate about two different systems, Buddhist systems as compared to the Advaita system. And my question was, you believe that there is transmigration. You believe that there is one birth after another birth. Then what transmigrates? And what is it that therefore has your result of actions to be carried forward, which is something that they talk about, right? They talk about the ending of desire, which means that the desire has been carried forward. And Buddha himself talks about multiple lives. So if Buddha, then what is it that is bringing the continuity if you do not agree that there is an Atman? Because there has to be something that is continuum, right? On the continuum, there are many instances. In later chapter, we see a beautifully simile where he puts it together as a thread of pearls, Manina Iva, right? And he says all these beautiful pearls on the thread, that thread which is the continuum. What is that thread? The Shunyavadis don't have an answer for that, right? Yes.
I have a question over there, because my interpretation of the Sunyavadi's perception of the soul as Sunya is a bit different, in the sense that if you say there is something for your mind to contemplate what that thing is, defeats the purpose, because it is not a thing. It doesn't exist in that sense. Okay, it is beyond space, beyond time. It is, how do you think? So I understood that they called it Shunya as a means of telling that this cannot be understood by this logical, objective-based perceptions that you are used to in studying everything. Okay, so they called it Shunya as simply a way of negating everything that could exist. They didn't say this doesn't exist. They just say that it cannot be perceived in the same way. They call it Shunya is a way of saying it is a nothing. It is no thing. Nothing doesn't mean that it is no thing. Where so that is my understanding of the way they perceive Shunya. Okay.
So, okay. Anyway, we're not studying Shunyavad here, but as Acharya always says, don't study Maya, study Brahman. So let us get back to. But you're right. You're right. It is. I mean, in the sense that Shunya was a word, just exactly as Brahman is a word. Both are words, and essentially, if you study, go into a deep study of Shunyavad, what Acharya did was take Shunya, replace Shunya with Brahman. And the entire Shunyavad philosophy collapses with that particular replacement.
Yeah.
So, because Shunya, however, does not have qualities. Unlike Brahman has one quality, rather three qualities.
No,
I mean,
that is only Ishvara. Saguna Brahman is Ishvara.
No, it has three qualities.
No guna.
No, it has three qualities.
Beyond guna.
It has three qualities. I'm using the word qualities here as a very limited word. It exists. Tat. It is conscious. It is aware.
Okay.
And it is blissful. Tat Chit Ananda. That is the quality. That is the Tataksha Lakshana of Brahman. Right? So when we look at that is the essential.
Swarupa Lakshana.
No, Brahman cannot have both. No, you will have both Tatastha as well as Swarupa Lakshana will be the same. I was waiting for that. Good. So nice. Okay, but coming back to this particular question, that when we look at this, the three gunas, and when we move forward from the gunas to the next understanding of what we are doing, you will see that the understanding of the gunas is a very essential part of how we grow. So tamasic guna, you will have to wait for it, and it will happen. Then you go to rajas, and as Parthuda said, then you just have to start applying effort, and then the effort has to be complete, and then you reach a particular point of veiling where the veil is so thin that it is virtually not there, but it is still there, right? And then it just vanishes. So great. Next one is Rahasyam Etad Uttamam, chapter 4.
Here,
yes, please.
Here, Krishna feels that he can share this knowledge with Arjuna because he's now qualified. When he says qualified, has complete devotion, surrendered completely, and has total faith. So he's in a position where he can share this knowledge with him, and he's capable of grasping it more than anything else because of these qualities. This is what.
Okay. What is the meaning of the word rahasya?
Rahasya is a secret, actually, actual meaning.
Yes.
It's
so why does he call it a secret?
Because this is a knowledge which cannot be openly shared with anyone and everyone. It will not go in. It's not like, unless you have that faith, that devotion, and you want that urge to know. If it's not there, it will just go over my head, and I mean anybody's head, sort of a thing. So it's not to be shared with anyone and everyone. Only with those people who are ready to take it in.
Okay. So first of all, we have to ask the question: why is it a rahasya to begin with?
Yes.
When people have become deluded by the three gunas, by Maya, then they have forgotten who they are. This is the thing. And in fact, Krishna expresses regret that they are not able to recognize him as the permanent permanency in all of existence. So it is a rahasya because people have forgotten, and therefore the knowledge is not universally available. They've forgotten it. Okay. And he says this uttamam, which is supreme, which means the moment you understand this, you don't need anything else. Your entire existence has achieved fruit at that point, because once you so it's uttamam, which is, this is the last secret. If you understood the essence of this, there is nothing else to be left to understand in the universe. Okay.
So let us look at the word rahasya. One meaning of the word rahasya is secret. The other meaning of the word rahasya is mystery. Mystery. And contextually, I believe that the word mystery is a better application here than secret. While most translations that you will see, they will use the word secret, you look at it from a mystery point of view. Because what is like a mystery? So you read a Sherlock Holmes mystery, right? Now, let's imagine that you are reading The Speckled Band. I'm sure you have read that book, that story, right? The Speckled Band, or The Hound of Baskervilles. And you have read that beautiful book, and it's a very gripping book. And you finish the book. You keep the book aside. Will you want to read it again? No, because you know the ending. You know what has happened. But just imagine that you have finished the book, and as you close the book, you forget the ending. Would you like to go back there again? Yeah. Of course. Right? This is a mystery, and it's a very, very potent mystery. It is one of the most mysterious things. Uttamam. That while I am talking to you, Krishna says, not me. Krishna says, while I am talking to you, it becomes very transparent, very clear. Oh, yes, this is absolutely true. The moment you turn around and the smell of the coffee comes, you've forgotten. So you need to come back. He uses the word secret also. We will start, when we start with chapter 9, we will see in chapter 9, verse 1 itself, he says, Idam tetu guhyatamam. Guhya. Guhya word here means secret. Guhya has no second meaning. Right? Rahasya here in this particular context is very clearly, at least to me, it's a mystery. And the reason it is a mystery is because it has never become, I can never see the end. I keep forgetting the end. And therefore, let me explain it in a manner that it will no longer remain a mystery. But for that, you have to do what Pramilaji said. You have to open up. You have to open up here. You have to open up here. And all this is now open. You're ready to receive the light. Then our problem is that now we keep the windows closed and then we say the sun hasn't risen. Yes, Partha, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was thinking why Krishna calls it a rahasya. Like you said, mystery or secret, whatever. I think Krishna in chapter 3 has been lecturing to Arjuna on karma yoga.
Correct.
Now he has come to karma sannasa, karma jnana sannasa yoga.
Jnana
So
karma sannyasa yoga, yes.
Now Krishna knows it is confusing to the person. The one moment he's talking of action, action, action. Suddenly he goes to knowledge and action. So I think that Krishna is telling, now that you have gone through this, don't think that knowledge is an alternative to action. Through knowledge, through action, you reach that stage of knowledge or inaction. So I think that's why Krishna is talking about this Russia and all, is creating this, thing. And he says, I cannot tell this to anybody and everybody. Now that you are a matured man, having had my sermon so far, I can now open up this thing to you. Yeah.
Fair enough. So I will skip the chapter 4:24 onwards. I think all the 12 types of yajnas are definitely already very easy for you. All of you are already doing that manan, so I will not get there. But unless you have a question there, and I'll go to the last one, chapter 440, samshaya. Right? What does the word samshaya mean, and what do we mean with that particular?
To doubt.
Okay.
Here he is talking about people who are doubting the worth in this pursuit. But it is like it's idle doubt. He does not, because he does say pariprashnena. He says you
Very
have
good.
to
Yes.
question. So that kind of raising a doubt in order to understand something better is perfectly right.
Very,
That's
very
the way
right.
to do it.
Tad vidhi paripatena pariprashnena sevaya. He says that very clearly. Yes.
But here he is talking about the idle doubters who say, oh, this one, you're wasting your time. This is not going to give you anything. And then, yeah, so they will only be heading in the wrong direction, and you cannot turn them.
Anything else? See, the Upanishadic method is very clear. The Upanishadic method, if you look at all the Upanishads, they are basically question answers. Right? Kathopanishad is a beautiful example. Nachiketas continuously is questioning Yama, and Yama then keeps on giving answers. Right? There is a whole, there are two Upanishads named after question words. Kenopanishad, Prashnopanishad. Right? Kena means how, why. Right? It's basically the big why question or the how question. And Prashnopanishad, the Upanishad itself, the word name itself is Prashnopanishad. So the questioning was never a looked down upon activity during the Upanishadic times. It has become it has become a negative activity today because we are afraid of questions, and therefore we don't allow our children to question, and so on and so forth. And most probably our children, because of their access to information, know a lot more about, for example, I mean, my son used to come and ask me, what sort of noise does a pterodactyl make? How on earth am I going to look at a pterodactyl making noises? This pterodactyl possibly existed in the Mesozoic age or the Paleo something age, and I have no clue as to what noises. And he would come and tell me that the pterodactyl made this particular noise, and he's found that on the internet somewhere. Somebody's recreated a pterodactyl and made some noises over there. He's got that information. Now, if I'm going to be afraid of questions, I will tell him, hey, sawal band kar. 2 + 2 का कितना होता है, 20 × 20 कितना होता है, go and study. And we perpetuate the nature of not questioning. But curiosity is the reason as to why the entire world's knowledge, including the spiritual knowledge, has arisen. Jigyasa, the first step in spiritual knowledge, is a question of who am I? Leading to that answer, I am that. Koham, leading to soham. That, unless that curiosity is there is no reason for any further progress in any field. But as Raghuji very rightly pointed out, that idle curiosity, idle doubt, right? Doubting of one's own experiences is very, very valid. But doubting somebody else's experience makes no sense. Right? If you just now tell me that you are seeing me wear a red shirt, there is no sense in me doubting your word, possibly, unless, I mean, you just want to pull my leg and like the 3 crooks who converted the lamb into a pig. You know the story, right? He was carrying a lamb, and this 3 crooks came. Why are you carrying a pig? Why are you carrying a pig? Why are you carrying a pig? Oh, it must be a pig. He threw it down and he went away. These people took the lamb and had a feast. Now, unless you have such an intent, and you are saying that I'm wearing a red shirt, I take your experience as truth for you. Right? That is the birthplace of empathy. So our entire tradition works on the system of empathy, of understanding the other person's viewpoint, of understanding that there will be differences in perception, there will be differences in understanding. But my doubting my own experience and trying to validate it through somebody else who has knowledge. Paripatena pariprashnena sevaya kutuhum jnani tattvavit. He who has not only validated his own experiences through the scripture, but has been touched that particular reality. Such a person, where you go to and you validate. So doubting has not been said to be wrong. The wrong doubting just for the sake of argument, doubting for the sake of creating differences, is what he says will never take us forward. Hence, he very clearly says in 440 that agyascha ashraddhascha ashraddhanascha. Right? So the person who does not have faith, who does not, what is Shraddha? We have seen Shraddha earlier. For that matter, we just completed the rituals for my mother-in-law, and we did what is called a Shraddha. What is a Shraddha? Shraddha dan deyati iti Shraddha. That which is given with respect. Shraddha is not only faith, it is also respect. So the respect for somebody else's knowledge, respect for somebody else's position, it may not be the same as yours. And then he says, Samshayatma vinashyati. And this is true for in the practical day-to-day world also. Not only in the spiritual world, it's also in our day-to-day world. So if somebody gives me a recipe and I start doubting that recipe, I'm not going to be making what that person asked me to make. It's as simple as that. If I don't respect that person's recipe and I say, no, I doubt whether you are going to be able to do it, I will not be able to make. So somebody else gives me a recipe for biryani or my favorite, rasagulla, and he says, take milk and you curdle it with lemon juice. And I said, no, I won't curdle it with lemon juice. I'm going to do something different. Now, I don't know what will turn out, but definitely not rasagulla. Right? Great. Next session, 5 to 8, we continue with this revision, and then we will see if we can complete. Otherwise, we will do this, and then we will start with chapter 9. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.